Who's at your house right now, Ava?
Everybody. My kids are back from their world travels. My husband. Why? Can you hear something in the background?
No, I just have to delete half my questions.
Oh, no, but I mean, this is my own space, so they're fine.
Okay, here's what else I thought of.
What?
And this is up to, if this is a train wreck, we won't do it again. But my thought was that we could take turns having somebody in the hot seat, different people in the hot seat, if they volunteer, no pressure. Because we could learn about, what their struggles were and what they've been through. Because I was thinking about everybody I know, and if anyone knew like their biggest challenge or the biggest thing they went through and how they overcame it, it would inspire others and make everybody understand they're not alone in their struggles. And it's just a way of bonding to learn more about each other. So
Yeah. When are you going to be in the hot seat then?
um,
Hmm.
after everybody goes.
Yeah.
And as long as people are joining, then it will last forever. And
Oh my gosh. Forget it. Okay.
you know everything about me though. I think. Christiana, how you doing? Are you she's gonna listen on mute, I think. And
I don't see Christiana.
oh, here she is. Hey everybody, keep my video awesome in bed. Oh, it's 9 p.m. I'm so glad she stays late for us. Love the idea, Sherry. Okay. That's the last thing I was going to say is if you guys want me to ask Ava a question, you can put it in the chat.
Sherry likes fruit.
Okay, so I promise not to be I will actually have to delete half the questions, but I just wanted to ask how you ended up coming here in your childhood. That's actually a little bit of what I wanted to cover just because you never talk about that. I don't know if it's private or not. So you can just again say pass. And then I'll go through just the lightning round questions and that's it.
Okay. I ended up in the United States.
Well, yes. And also your childhood was endlessly fascinating when we talked about that. And I don't know how much you want to share about that, but I don't know if you've ever talked about it on your channel. We know you're from Spain, but that's all we know. So how much do you want to share about your parents, your mom, later your mom's stepdad, and how you ended up coming here? Up to you.
It's too long a story, I think, but basically I ended up coming here because I grew up in Spain, and I was always fascinated with America. I always wanted to come to America. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. In the 80s, we had Back to the Future. That's my favorite movie to this day. And when I watched it, I was like, I'm going there. I'm going to America. So I begged my dad to send me as an exchange student. And at that point, my mom had died. So it was kind of like perfect timing because I did not want to live with my dad and my stepmother. So he sent me with to stay with a family for the whole year. And that was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And luckily I had studied English in Spain. So I wasn't starting from scratch. So that was good. And I came and I just fell in love with it. And they could never get rid of me again. I just stayed forevermore. Never went back to Spain.
What did you love about it compared to your own country? Like,
I love the freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom.
You didn't have that at home?
No, to the freedom to be who you were, how unapologetically. Spain in that time in the 80s was we had a dictator for many years in Spain, and he died in 75. I was born in 71, and people were still very much. We had crazy 80s in Spain. It was like almost like a rebirth where Spain went crazy, but it still seemed like everybody had to dress a certain way, and some things were not allowed, and you shouldn't speak about that, and you should behave this way. And when I came here, I saw that some parents showed up to pick up their kids from school in a Harley, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool. Like in my school, it was so proper. Everybody was so proper, and I was just blown away by everybody dressed however they wanted. Everybody just, of course, within the fashion of the time, but I just thought, what a free country this is. Everybody just does their thing. I just thought it was amazing, and I couldn't get enough of it.
Your personality is kind of unfiltered and direct. You don't do like the small talk and whatever, the stuff that some of the Americans do. Is that from being born in, is that part of your culture back then, or is that part of who you are at your core anyway?
No, that is part of my culture. In Spain, we don't say, we're so direct but it doesn't come across as direct. But we will not say, would you please mind passing me the salt? We'd be like, pass the salt. And it's not considered rude. So when I talk to my kids, I'd be like, come here, sit down. Like it's a very commanding sort of way of speaking, which does not translate in English, because in English, you're more like, excuse me, it's always the difference between Latin mothers, which is, this is across all Latin cultures, I feel, and American moms are a lot more like, sweetie, what would you like to eat? In Spain, it's like, this is what you're going to eat. Sit your butt down. It's just like, that's in me. We're very forceful in a way. And so, yeah, that it's always been something that I've tried to work up with, because I felt like people would probably think that I was rude. And I've tried so hard to be less direct and more polite, if you will. But something in me, I'm like, blah, which is not the way to do it here. And I realize that, but I try.
No, I think it's great. I think I'm too nice. And so my friends are always like, compliment with an E, compliment my style. Like Jeanette is from New York. They're very direct. Yeah. You are very direct. I saw you in a comment on YouTube, and at the end you're like, get a grip, girl. And I was like, I was like, I need to find, because I'm like, you're a beautiful soul inside and out. But like, there's like all these different levels of commenting, and I need to find that balance and be more direct sometimes. So I appreciate that quality in you, actually.
Thank you. Yeah, I know exactly what comment you mean. Oh my gosh, like I have no patience sometimes,
Yeah.
And I try to be nicer, but sometimes it just like, it gets the best of me. I'm like, oh, I just blurt it out. Yeah.
No, there's a benefit to it. And the small talk is unnecessary. So again, it's good that you can do that. Okay. So is there any part about your childhood, like your mom's, your stepdad, right? Mm-hmm. Or any of the Spain culture, any of that exciting stuff that you want to share, or the most exciting part of your childhood before we move on? Anything?
I just feel like this is boring, but okay.
I just literally asked for the most exciting thing. So
I know,
your entire childhood is
who
boring?
Wants to know about this crap? Okay. Yeah, my childhood was very exciting because my mom and dad were divorced when I was little. That was not exciting. That sucked. And I was the only kid whose parents were divorced, because divorce was illegal in Spain until 1978 or 79, something crazy. You were not allowed to get a divorce because we're a Catholic country and we had been under a dictator. So when my parents got separated, it was like, whoa, that's radical. That's crazy. That did not feel good. So my parents got divorced. And then my mom came from a special family, if you will. Her dad was a judge in the Supreme Court, and she grew up sort of very pampered and very just very privileged, really. That's the word for it. And she was completely irresponsible. And she was when she had me, she was only 17. She got married at 17. She had me exactly a year later at 18. And 10 months later, and she was a child when she got married, and she had me very young, and she was completely responsible as far as she was a child herself, and she relied on housekeepers, because in her own house they had like 4 housekeepers. It was craziness. And so she was just completely unprepared to be a parent. And then she married my dad, who a little bit also of a privileged upbringing, if you will, not as much, but he made a lot of money because he was a journalist at the time, and he traveled. He met the Kennedys. He was like a fascinating guy to know. He traveled in the presidential plane. He was the one who actually told me all about America, and he's like, oh, it's amazing over there. And so my parents were really cool, really. And then they broke up, and then my mom at that time, she couldn't marry, but she started living with with my stepfather, who was an amazing human. He also came from a very, very privileged background, and he was an architect, and he was also completely responsible in his own household. They used to pretty much spoon feed him. I mean, the housekeepers would hold an ashtray for him to go like this with this ashes. It was, so these two characters get together, and my house was always filled with parties and artists, and a lot of comings and goings and shenanigans and dinner parties. And it was very exciting, but not so great if you're a child growing up. Like, you want stability, you want your mom to give you a bath and make you dinner. There was nothing like that. The fridge only had like champagne and olives kind of thing. It was just crazy. So yeah, so that was interesting. So when I became a mom, I wanted to be like the mom that I didn't have. And so I think I might have gone the complete opposite. I was like uber controlling, and like, I want to make sure that I homeschool my kids. I was like a stay-at-home mom. You know how those things shape you. So I did the opposite. But yeah, so I had a very interesting childhood.
How did, besides the way you parent your kids, how did that affect you? Like, was your mom affectionate? Did you get that part of it, or not even that?
My mom wasn't necessarily affectionate. She treated me like a friend, not like a mom. She was kind of like, oh, Ava's so self-reliable. Yeah, because I had to be, because I had to just take care of myself. We had a housekeeper, but it's not the same thing. And so, yeah, it definitely made me who I am. So no regrets there for sure. Everything works out the way God plans, I think.
Is there anything you want to share about? Yeah, Wanda said she did the opposite too, because that's sort of what happens with our parents. They either affect us in the worst way or we go the other way.
Yeah.
Would you say there was any traumas that affected you today from that you want to share, or is that too?
There's definitely trauma. I think everybody, as long as you're human, there's going to be trauma. Even if you don't, it's funny how we think what affects some people is not what affects others. Like the way I'm raising my girls, one could be traumatized and the other one might not be. Like when we sold everything in Florida and we decided to travel for a year in the RV, some kids might be like, that's the best thing that could ever happen. My oldest kid is like, that was traumatizing. I did not want to leave our home. So no matter what you do along the way or your parents do, it could potentially traumatize you, because we're so fragile as children. People think kids are resilient. It's not that kids are resilient, it's that kids don't know how to express what's going on. It's not that they're so resilient. They're not resilient. They really aren't, in my opinion. It's just that they're not able to express to you what they can. They internalize everything and they can't share. So yeah, definitely shaped me.
And once we believe something is happening, the world around us will support that belief.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Perspective matters. About your mom passing away when you were young, is that anything you want to share about that? Because you said your dad encouraged and helped you come to America. At what age, and what age did your mom die?
So my dad and I did not get along so well, because he married like the epitome of the wicked stepmother, like in the movies. Okay, that's who my stepmother was, but it wasn't. It's just the way my perspective. Oh, I hate her. So he married her, and I did not want to live with her and him. And so my dad had a sort of like a strained relationship. I adored my stepfather because he was just like so much fun and so amazing. But then sadly, my mom and my stepfather ended up getting, separating. And then it just kind of all unraveled from there. And my mom, unfortunately, during all the years of parties and, just the crazy lifestyle that it was, became addicted to drugs, and she just spiraled. She just spiraled. And so, yeah, she ended up having an accident, and it ended really tragically for her. And then my stepfather also had like a tragic ending many years later. He was an alcoholic, and it all caught up with them, but it was fun while it lasted. But unfortunately, things always catch up with you. And, some people can do partake in drugs or alcohol, and it might not hook them, but you just never know what kind of personality you're going to have. That's why I've always been very cautious about those things, because you just never know if you happen to have that kind of addictive personality where you're just going to go down the wrong way. So that was not good.
It's interesting too, like people might think you're spoiled or you grew up spoiled because they had money or whatever, and then you find out all this other stuff. And there's also the wealthy celebrities that we always hear about that weren't happy or had all these issues. So would you say, like, what would you say how you overcame, so you weren't spoiled from the money, and also how you overcame not being an addict yourself? How did you learn how to do that on your own without parents, basically?
I've always been very self-reliant, very strong. I've always just taken care of myself, and I just always have been. I've always been very homely. I'm a Taurus. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, and I don't know that I believe in any of that, really. I think it's more entertainment than anything, but it could be. But I am very I like to make a nest. I like to make a home, and so I think that maybe, I don't know, it's my personality. But what was the other question? Sorry.
Just you came from money, but you weren't spoiled, and then you had drug addiction and alcoholism in your family, but you didn't succumb to that. So it's hard to do that when you don't have solid parenting or a foundation or 2-parent household, etc. But you did on your own.
I never really, no, I never had. It just never attracted me, because I don't know, maybe I just thought I don't want to end up like that. But yeah, and I don't think I was spoiled either. I was spoiled to a degree, because the way I was dealt with was just whatever she wants to do, you know. I went to boarding school. It was just, my parents just didn't know quite. I couldn't live with my dad because of my situation with my stepmother, and I couldn't really live with my mom and my stepfather after a while. So they kind of put me in a boarding school. So yeah, people might think, oh, isn't she spoiled? But it's not really, because you don't have parents. So I don't know what's worse.
Yeah, and you're also in a very long-term marriage, which you didn't learn from your parents either. So
yeah,
you've defied a lot of that.
Yeah.
What do you want to say about your boyfriend or your transition to America or any of that? Didn't you have a boyfriend when you came here or something?
So yeah, the first year that I was here, I met a guy, and he was like crazy in love with me, and I ended up coming back. I went home for the summer, and I was there for 3 months, and then I begged my dad, please send me back, and he did. And then this guy and I started living together, and I ended up actually repeating the pattern of my parents. I ended up getting married at 19 to this guy. It obviously didn't last very long. Well, it lasted 5 years, but it wasn't ideal. And he and I broke up, and then I met my current husband. So, but you know, you live and learn. It was a mistake.
Yeah. I don't think everybody knew any of that about you. So it's interesting, because it is who we are and who we become. And from all these challenges is why we're amazing. So it's, so thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I haven't even looked at my notes. So I just want to do the lightning round so that I don't totally make you uncomfortable.
Okay.
Let me make sure I covered the stuff that I just wanted people to learn that they didn't know about you. And are there any core memories from that period? Like, is there any core memories growing up, or any core memories that affected you or influenced who you are today? Well,
I do have a lot of good core memories. Actually, my memories are all good. I don't really have a lot of bitterness or, oh my gosh, I do feel privileged, and I do feel like I did grow up very privileged, and with a lot of opportunities. Not a lot of kids get the opportunity to go abroad, and I became quite the traveler so young, and not a lot of kids have the opportunity to go to a bilingual school like I did, and not a lot of kids. So I never did. I always looked at all the positives, because I was very lucky in many ways, and my dad had the means to give me a lot, really, at least monetarily speaking, as far as education and opportunities that are not available to everyone. So I was lucky in that way. So I do have a lot of good memories, and I do have a lot of gratitude for that. And I have a lot of good memories about my stepfamily. They're my family, and my stepdad, and all the interesting people, and anybody from singers to actors to artists were always at my house. And I mean, people at the Museum of El Prado in Spain are artists that came to my house on a regular basis. My stepfather himself is in many museums in Spain. And so that was very interesting. But for me, it was normal. It was very normal. So I have great memories.
I remember when you were telling me about your stepdad, and I was like Googling his name, trying to find him in museums and stuff. Also, you reminded me of the perspective thing, because you can take your childhood and be like, woe is me, drugs, alcohol, broken home, whatever. Or you can be like, I was privileged because I had these opportunities. So it definitely depends on the personality. I did not have as much guidance or people watching me when I was younger either. So I made completely wrong decisions the entire time. So kudos to you. I'm still in one piece though. So Christiana wants to know if you had any siblings, which is what I was going to actually ask. If you want to say anything.
So I'm an only child of my mom and dad. They got married. Like I said, my mom was very young. They had me. My mom was like, what am I doing? 2 years later, she's like, I'm out of here. It's so funny because one anecdote I remember, my auntie told me that my mom used to have a cash drawer in the house. There was a drawer with cash for my mom that my dad would stuff with money. And when my mom decided to leave my dad, my aunt and everybody's like, are you crazy? Like, you have it so good. But she was just like a bon vivant, oh, I'm out of here. I fell in love with an artist or I met an artist. She wasn't in love yet. And so that was interesting. So they never really, so they just had me. And then my mom got together with my stepfather, and they had a child with so it's my half sister. And then my dad met my stepmother, and they had 3 kids. So I have over here on one side, I have 1, on the other side, I have 3, but I'm the only child. So I only have half siblings, so I'm not really that close with them, because when I came here, I was only 17. And so they were little kids, because I was the only one for a long time.
That's interesting, but you're tighter with them now.
But not crazily, because just think about it. When I came here, my sister was 9, and then over on one side, and then over on the other side, they were like 6, 4, 1. So they never really grew up. In fact, one time I was talking to my sister, and she goes, yeah, my dad. And she kept talking about my dad. I'm like, Lola, your dad is my dad. And she's like, oh yeah, I forget. She forgets that I'm also we have the same dad, because she never, so we're not really close. I'm not really close with them. I'm closer with my other sister, because we have the same mom and we shared more. But the other 3 were not we are now trying to get closer for sure, especially with my older brother. He lives in Washington, D.C., and he's a smart guy, so I like him a lot.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was little, I wanted to be a singer, but I can't sing, so.
That close. Okay, that was Christiana's question also. Okay, so is there anything, I'm going to get to the lightning round now. Is there anything that you want to bring up that I haven't asked you about all that?
No, we're good.
Do you want to say why you love Dave so much? Your current husband? Yeah.
Actually, when I met Dave, my current husband, my one husband, aside from that other one, what I loved about him right away, it felt very secure with him. He was like a solid guy, very solid. Like, this guy has a head on his shoulders. He's so responsible. He's just one of those guys he's a business person, and he's, so I was like right away very attracted to that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's got, he's got it all together. So even though he was young and carefree, but still, like, he was responsible. He paid his bills on time, that kind of thing. I was like, whoa, this is great.
He can fix things.
Yeah, he can fix things.
Yeah, he's a good daddy. He can fix things. He can take down walls and build.
Yeah.
Impressive. Okay, here we go, guys. Lightning round, real quick. Do you believe in aliens?
No.
You hesitated. That means you might, on a scale of 1 to 10, be a 2.
I'd rather say I don't know. But I don't necessarily know.
If you're a billionaire, what's the first thing you would buy for yourself?
Nothing for myself. I would love to buy all my friends' houses and cars and give them anything.
After you do all that altruistic stuff, what would you buy for yourself?
Travel. More travel.
If you could go to the moon, they would pay for the training, all the money, all the safety. Would you go?
Yeah. Yeah. You're so funny.
Okay. What is your most prized possession?
I don't have any. I give it all away. Oh yeah, I have a painting, actually, a painting. There you go. A painting of my dad and my stepmother and myself that a very famous artist did. And it's here in my house.
We look forward to seeing that photo. Most daring thing you've ever done?
I've done all kinds of daring things. That's one thing. I'm a daredevil.
Clothes on, or what? Do I want to know what these are?
No, I mean everything from skydiving to selling all my belongings and buying an RV and traveling to traveling for 5 years on a cruise ship without thinking, what am I doing? Anything. I'm very daring.
Cruise ship and skydiving. Okay. This is going to be continued. What is your least favorite part of the day?
Oh, I don't have one. I love the day.
The whole day. I love all of it. All 24.
I love waking up. I love it when it's beautiful outside in the morning. If it's too cold, no, I'm not a fan, but I get over it. And I love evening time when everybody goes to bed and I have a little time to myself. I love it all. I don't mind. But I can get depressed too. So when I'm down, I probably hate all of it. So it just
no comment. What goal do you have that seems out of reach?
I don't think any goals are out of reach. I'm a very positive person for the most part. Yeah, I'm optimistic, I should say. I'm not always positive. I get down, you know that. I have down times, but I usually bounce back. I think down times are related to hormones, honestly. My hormones are whack, or they have been. I think everything is possible. The only thing that's not possible is for me to become a singer because I can't sing. So
I know. I'm crushed. Okay. Yes, that's all good. Who knows you best? If you count your family, your best friend, Dave, your kids, who knows you best?
Probably Dave. I don't think anyone knows me 100%. I'm very reserved in many ways.
I know. I'm making you uncomfortable on purpose. Okay. What quality do you love best about your best friend?
What quality do I love best about you?
You're so sweet. Your other best friends.
Well, what I love best about you is how kind you are, regardless.
Thank you. It wasn't about me. I wasn't trying to fish there. I was actually talking about your Joyce and your other beautiful best friends also.
What I love about my friends is that they are accepting of me, however I am. They know I can be a little bit short, and they know that's just me. They don't take it personally.
Yeah, finding out what people love about their best friends is what they admire, like what they're working on themselves and or what they admire. So I appreciate you answering that.
I wish I was more like you, that's for sure.
Don't be starting compliments now. I'll cut you off. Cut off your mic. What is the most valuable life lesson you've learned so far?
Oh, who knows? They're all valuable. The
One
most
of them.
valuable life lesson, that you can heal yourself.
That's what we're all doing. That's a good one. Emotionally and physically. What can make you angry?
Bad drivers.
Welcome to
Rude
California.
people. Rude
much
comments
time?
on YouTube.
Yeah.
I block them. Blocked. You're blocked.
There's yeah, I won't get into the YouTube thing. I post like once to every 50 that you do, so you handle it much better than most.
Wow.
Okay, here we go. This is little lightning rounds. 542. Favorite free time activity?
Oh, I love swimming. I love walking. I love going to the movies.
If you had 5 extra hours in a day, what would you do with your life differently?
I would probably exercise a little longer, because sometimes I cut it short at the gym. I'm like, I'm out of here. And I could really do another, a little longer. And I would go for longer walks for sure. I would probably work longer too, because I like it.
I think Wanda left us. Yeah, Wanda, up here, she's back. She said, you're very resilient, which I agree. I'm calling the term enlightenment, but it could be any definition that you have of enlightenment. But do you believe we can get enlightened in this lifetime?
I don't know.
The ultimate.
I don't think so. There's always going to be ego. We're never going to be Jesus-like. We're too much of an ego. Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to be. I mean, it's like, depending on which religion or faith, and I know it's complex. So lightning round continues. We'll pass that. Your biggest fear or weakness?
One
of them.
My biggest fear is obviously something happening to my family or my teenagers driving or something. Like as a mother, you're like, it's constant worry. Not worry, but you're like always like, oh my God, what are they doing out there? So that's not, that worries me, but I try to be chill about it. My biggest fear used to be snakes. And this is the craziest story. I was petrified of even seeing a picture of snakes. And I'm not going to BS you guys. When I went raw, I'm not afraid of snakes. I'm not going to pet one or have one around my neck or like, be cuddling one, but I don't freak out like I used to. Isn't that weird?
So the raw vegan diet cures your fear of snakes. That's the headline?
That's the headline. I'm not even joking. It's the weirdest thing. When I cleaned up my diet, that phobia went away. It was a phobia. It was like, how people that would go and run and like be like freaked out. That was me. Like I couldn't even see a picture. I was like, it was awful. And that went away. Now I'm like, okay, it's a snake.
I feel like we have the title of your future autobiography. Ready to go. The raw diet cures snake phobia. Okay. What's your most treasured memory besides obviously marriage, having kids? The obvious ones.
My most treasured memory. I never thought about that. Probably.
We can circle back.
Probably giving birth. I had amazing births, especially my second one.
I did say you can't count that, but I'll allow it this one time. Okay. What is one thing people misunderstand about you?
My accent.
I didn't mean literally. Christiana said maybe because you cleaned up your inner snake, like your intestine/colon.
Maybe.
She's not giving you full credit, Christiana, for that.
Maybe.
Could be possible. If you were immortal, how would you spend your life?
Serving. Honestly, I'm not BSing. If I was immortal, I would I would really, I wouldn't like to be immortal, first of all. That must be awful. But the only thing you could really do is just serve others, because what else are you going to do with all that time? You might as well put it to good use. So I would just see what I could do.
I feel like if I had all the time in the world, I would still be behind. Do you ever get that feeling?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure my to-do list would still not get done.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? I would like to be remembered as a good person.
You're good there. Anything on your bucket list that you've already went skydiving apparently? And
so yeah, more travel. Definitely gotta go. I have never been to Egypt, and I have never been to Asia, but everywhere else I've got covered.
Something, did I say this one? Something you're proud that you've done in your life? Did I? Yeah, I asked that. Okay, real quick. Dogs or cats?
That's a tough one. I'm a dog person, but Leo stole my heart.
He's also listening to you right now.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Sorry.
And where do you want to be in 5 years?
I would like to, I never know, in 5 years, just having an awesome coaching practice, helping lots of people, having an amazing community, just doing my best to help.
What is something you're embarrassed to share about yourself? Like, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Like when we travel together, like you like a blanket on top of anything.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
like something like that.
That's funny. So I'm very weird in hotels.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to pick that one. Just prompting.
I don't like hotel linens. I don't like the blankets that are on top sometimes. I put towels down. I'm really weird about, if I go to someone's house, I'm totally fine because I know you. And even if I'm invited in someone's house, not a problem. But if I'm in a hotel, I honestly cannot bring myself to sleep on those beds. And I put towels down and I cover myself with a towel. This is no joke. And I travel with a pillow, my own pillow.
Yeah. Is that the one you're going to pick though? The germ one?
Yeah. Anything which other one? Which other one is bad?
I don't know if there are any. That's the only thing you're embarrassed about, or anything people wouldn't know about you?
I'm not really that embarrassed about it. It is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's not embarrassing. It's not weird either, because who wants other people's stuff if you don't know them?
Yeah.
I get that. I remember too, you're like, if you put your suitcase on the floor, you will get bed bugs and bring them to your house and have to paint it, including the caulking. And I'm like, I'm gonna get some Lysol at the local corner store.
Yes.
Because I have my luggage on the ground when you told me that, and you're like, you just have to move. You can't get rid of them.
My friend had bed bugs. It was the most horrific experience of her life. She had to put everything in massive Ziploc bags after she washed it, and then they would reinfest everything. She had to get rid of furniture, couches, everything. So yeah.
You can pass on this one. Have you ever tried drugs?
Yes.
Do you want to say what kind? No, don't. Okay.
Marijuana.
Okay, I've tried that too, Your Honor. Okay, I think one more question. Was there a shift moment for you? This is going to help everybody. Was there a shift moment where you were addicted to food and you had health issues and this and that, where I know you finally decided to get healthy, but was there this moment where you're like, I'm going to choose health for the rest of my life? I don't want to be tempted by these things. I don't want to choose them. What is that shift moment for you? Because I think people want to find that in their own life so that they don't struggle anymore with this aspect of the lifestyle.
I think for most people, you have to get to a place where you're just like, have had enough. You know, for me, it was, I had a period I had my period and it would last for 3 weeks of very, very, very heavy bleeding. And I went to the doctor and they're like, well, we're going to do this procedure. We're going to scrape the lining of your uterus out. It's a very uncomfortable procedure, but you be fine. And if that doesn't work, which we're not saying it will, but it might, then we're going to do, we're going to recommend a hysterectomy. And I was like, wait, hang on a minute. I'm 44. That seems a little extreme, So that was like my wake up call. Like, okay, I got to do something. I got to stop messing about. And so I found this diet. I went to Hippocrates. I just went all in. I just went all in, and I thought, I promised myself that I would do anything I could. And that's probably one of my pitfalls when I coach people, is that I expect people to be not as disciplined, but as committed to it as I was. And I have to understand that not everybody has that level of commitment, and that's okay too. That we all do what we can do with the tools we have at the time. And maybe that's good enough too. We don't have to go all in like I did. There are other things that we can do. And I've also come to realize that it's all about, the food we eat, but the food that we don't eat, that can make a massive, like, I'm not so black and white anymore. I used to be like, you got to do this, you got to do it this way, you got to do it for this long. And now I'm like, okay, hang on a minute. Some other approaches might also work very well. Let me just hear what this person, where they're at, what's going on, what are their likes, dislikes, how old are they, what is their history. And so, I've learned a lot, because at Hippocrates, it was just one non-negotiable path forward, where through all the years I have seen that there are other ways to go about things too. Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, a lot of people change when they've hit rock bottom, but it's hard to change when you're like, I'm trying to prevent something bad that I don't know what it might be, and it hasn't happened. So I'm trying to be proactive today, but these French fries look good right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't have an issue. So it's kind of hard to do without hitting rock bottom. So one of the books I'm writing has to do with that shift moment, because if we can hear enough of others' experiences, how they got there, we can kind of absorb it ourselves and get there without the pain and suffering, or as much pain and suffering.
Yeah, I agree. But I think there's a lot of freedom. And Jeanette shared something from Serena Williams. And I had seen that clip about her. I had actually seen the whole interview where Serena Williams was saying, there's so much freedom and discipline. And I so identify with that. I found that was my way. My way was in the absolute discipline. And I was very disciplined for a long, long time. Where for some people, that's not them, and it's okay to not be perfect. Like, I fell into the trap of trying to be perfect, and that is not necessarily healing in all the ways that it can be, because just, that could also be detrimental to your health. Just so, there's a lot of love and self-love and freedom in discipline. But knowing when to apply what also helps a lot. Like, if for this goal, you have to be disciplined. Yes, I get that. But there could be other areas that you don't have to be so disciplined. So, Yeah,
and some people, like coaches that are tough love and strict and tell it to you honestly. And some people are really sensitive and will crumble and do poorly with that kind of. So I think that's why journaling is good, and getting to ask yourselves questions when you, I don't want to say fail, but have challenges. Get to know your personality type. Then you know what will work for the next time you hit that challenge. That's why self-awareness, self-love, knowing your style, and journaling all help for our goals.
Yeah.
And it's not one size fits all, like you said.
Yeah, it's not all one size fits all. And I used to be like, oh, it's one size fits all. This is the way. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah. And some people need to be 100% and some people don't, in terms of raw, or they'll go off the deep end. So we've talked about that a lot. That's a challenge people have.
Yeah. And some people don't do well on 100% raw because of past, they could have an eating disorder in the past, or they could have a personality that just doesn't, or there's so many other factors. But yeah, I do believe that there's definitely the danger of people in the lifestyle being in it for longer than they should. That definitely can happen. So yeah, it's my job to be able to discern when someone needs to, because sometimes it's really hard for us to open up our minds a little bit and see outside of what we believe is the absolute truth. And sometimes I know that so many people that I have coached, they're just not willing to go outside of what they've been doing for 5 years, and it's evidently not working for them, but they're still stuck that this is the way. And it's like, no, it's not, because look at the results you're getting. They're not ideal results. So yeah, it's a tough thing.
Yeah. And you also reminded me that another benefit of this group, we're here to help them, but having everybody's struggles and hearing what works for them and doesn't work for other people, like that helps us become better coaches as well, because not everybody is cookie cutter, and we need to know what people struggle with and what their personality types are and get to know everybody that way. And it's super helpful for us as well.
Yeah.
I love this is my transition to get to talk to Diana and whoever wants to unmute themselves. Just to learn about them. Ava, thank you for doing that, being vulnerable. I know it was uncomfortable. I appreciate you doing that. It
wasn't actually uncomfortable because you're very gracious, so it's totally fine.
Yeah, it was like outpouring of love to you the entire time. So thank you.
Sherry likes fruit.